Chapter 3 Quadratic Equations in One Unknown. In this chapter, we would like to discuss how to solve each quadratic equations. Let's see one of the example. If we have a trapezium, the area of this trapezium is equal to 20 square unit. I want to find the values of x. So what can we do? Maybe we can solve the equations. The area is equal to upper base plus lower base times height divided by 2, which is equal to 20. Simplify it. Then you can multiply 2 on both sides and then expand it, and we can find these equations. In junior form, we only discussed how to solve a linear equations. What is the meaning of linear equations? That means the term without x squared. Okay, the degree of the unknown must be equal to 1. But in this chapter, we would like to discuss this equation. We will call this as quadratic equation. What is the meaning of quadratic equations? Quadratic equation means the unknown, the degree. The highest degree is equal to 2. Then, how can we solve it? The first method we would like to discuss is called factor method. Okay, by using factor method. We can do the factorization first. If you remember, we can factorize it, which is equal to, if I factorize x squared minus xx minus 27, which is equal to x minus 9 times x plus 3 is equal to 0. Then, what can we do? Just emergence. One equations, if two terms multiplied together is equal to 0. This is a magic. Why? Because only 0 times something, okay, can be equal to 0. For example, 1 times 2 is equal to 2. If the number is non-zero, multiplied together cannot be equal to 0. So we can conclude x minus 9 is equal to 0, or x plus 3 is equal to 0. Okay, either one of them must be equal to 0. So x is equal to 9, or x is equal to negative 3. Because x is the length, so we can reject this answer. I can find the values of x. So, first of all, you need to remember what is the meaning of quadratic equations. If I have an equations ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0, this is a quadratic equation because we have highest degree, which is equal to x squared. And remember one remark is that x cannot be equal to 0 because when x is equal to 0, this term will be 0, and this is linear equations. So we'll not call this as quadratic equations. And there's some name you need to remember. What is the meaning of coefficient of x squared? That means the number, okay, leading, okay, to x squared, which is equal to a. The coefficient of x is equal to b, and c is called constant term. And we also discussed how to use factor method to solve it. So let's see one more example, example 3.1. If I want to solve this quadratic equations, first of all, you need to do the factorizations. Okay, x squared plus 5x, simple. We can take out x. If two terms multiplied together is equal to 0, the magic is, our conclusion is x is equal to 0, or x plus 5 is equal to 0. So x is equal to negative 5, or x is equal to 0. So remember, if you want to solve a quadratic equations, we can first, maybe you need to rearrange the order. Move all the terms to the left-hand side because you need to ensure right-hand side is equal to 0. After the factorization, you can see the magic. Two terms multiplied together is equal to 0. either one of them are equal to 0, then you can find the values of x. That means we change to quadratic equations to a linear. After you change to linear equations, you can solve it. Example 3.2, I want to demonstrate several questions how to make good use of factorial method. Question A. Can you see this question left hand side? Left hand side has already factorized it, which is equal to 0. 2 times multiplied together is equal to 0. Our conclusion is x minus 1 is equal to 0, or x plus 2 is equal to 0. So x is equal to 1, or x is equal to -2. Okay, we have two answers. Okay, part B. Remember, we need to use factor method. So we may factorize it by using identity. If you remember, this is equal to 3t all squared minus 5 squared. So it's 3t minus 5 and 3t plus 5 is equal to 0. Then, what can we do? 2 times multiplied together is equal to 0. So our conclusion is the first term is equal to 0, or 3t plus 5 is equal to 0. Our answer is t is equal to 5 over 3, or t is equal to -5 over 3. Okay, question C. So factorize it. X minus 2 and x plus 1 is equal to 0. 2 terms multiplied together is equal to 0. So either one of them is equal to 0, x is equal to 2, or x is equal to -1. Question D. Can you see this is not in the general form? That means we need to put all the term on the left hand side to make sure right hand side is equal to 0 to apply our magic. X squared plus x minus 42. Then I can factorize it. Plus 7, and then x minus x is equal to 0. So x is equal to -7, x, or x minus x is equal to 0, so x is equal to 6. You may try to finish follow-up exercise 2 and then example 3.3, and we'll discuss in our lesson.